So Adrien Broner is making a return to the ring for November 8th against Haskell Rhodes. Now Adrien Broner at this point in his career is 35, 5 and 1 against Haskell Rhodes, who is 32, 8 and 1. Now Haskell Rhodes is a guy who I've absolutely never heard of, and has not beaten anyone good. I looked at his box rec because when you see these sorts of guys against guys like Adrien Broner, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at their box rec and see, has this guy been in there with anyone good? Has he beat anyone good? Now, he's been in there with a few good guys. He's lost to Kurt Scooby and he's lost to Floyd Schofield, but he's not beat anyone good at all. And as far as I can see on his box rec, he's not fought at above 140. Now, I'm imagining this fight will be at 147 because I seriously doubt Adrien Broner is going to be able to get to anything below 147. So we'll see, man. We'll see, because Adrien Broner is a guy who at one point was, I mean, he was never really mixing it at world level, for being honest. He won world titles, but he wasn't mixing it at world level in terms of guys who were truly at that world level. And when he did fight guys who were half decent and half a pulse, he lost to them. He lost to an old Manny Pacquiao. He lost to Sean Porter. He drew with Jesse Vargas. He just about beat Paulie Malignaggi. There's a number of losses on his record now. That being said, the guy who he's fighting has beat nobody good. Adrien Broner's also not really beat anyone good apart from Paulie. But I guess Adrien Broner's a bigger name. I don't know. This is sort of a hard fight to call because you don't know how much Adrien Broner's got left. Right? We saw in his last fight, he looked awful in his last fight against, I forget the guy's name. I'm not even going to look it up. Blair Cobbs, that was it, against Blair Cobbs. He looked awful, old, slow, and he even got dropped. And he's fighting in front of smaller and smaller crowds, and he's getting probably smaller and smaller paychecks. And it's really sad to see a guy like Adrien Broner, who at one point was, like I said, a 4-weight world champion, to go out like this. Hopefully he can get a win. Hopefully, he's training hard. He can get some of that hand speed back. But we'll see. Because Adrien Broner in his prime was fast. He was a big puncher at 130 or 135. But once he left 135, once he'd gone above 135 and was fighting at 140, 147, he wasn't as much of a puncher. And again, he's probably going to be fighting at 147, worst case 140. And he's just not the same sort of level of puncher as he was at sub 140. So we'll see. Hopefully Adrien Broner can get that left hand working, can shoot that jab, shoot that left hook, and can start the fight strong. But he doesn't. I'm hoping an old Adrien Broner who's been inactive for a while, who's taken a number of losses, I'm hoping he can do something he's never done in his career. And that's start a fight quick, let his hands go. He's never done that in his career. It's just not what he does. Right? And I've got some theories behind it. Maybe I'll get into it another time about why Adrien Broner fights the way he does. But ultimately, he should have enough to beat a guy like this. I did say the same thing about him fighting Blair Cobbs. He should have enough left in the tank to beat these guys, but he lost to Blair Cobbs. And he could lose to this guy as well. A guy who's never fought at 147 before, I don't think. So we'll see. I'm hopeful for Adrien Broner. I'm not really, actually, because I hope he retires. He should really get into influencer boxing, if I'm being honest. That's really what he's suited for. It's a much lower level. Those guys technically aren't as good. They're not going to be able to go for 12 rounds. A lot of those influencer boxing fights, they're 8 rounds, 10 rounds. Adrien Broner, if he trains, could probably do that against a much lower level of competition. But fighting these pro guys at this point is not for him, because he's too hittable, he's too slow. And you add in all the stuff that was already not great about Adrien Broner. Those weaknesses have just been, accentuated even more. If you're a guy who's got a low punch output, when you're at his age, you're not going to just magically overnight become a high volume puncher. Do you know what I mean? You're not. That's just not how life works. And Adrien Broner is not a high volume puncher, which is what he needs to be. He needs to be, because if you're not a big puncher, you need to be high volume. Do you know what I mean? Because if you're a big puncher, you don't have to be high volume because you've got one punch knockout power. Adrien Broner hasn't got that at 140 or 147. He's not got that. So he has to be high volume, which he's not. So he loses. But this guy who is fighting Haskell Rhodes, he's never beaten anyone good. So we'll see. Yeah, Haskell Rhodes is ranked 558 on BoxRec. So there's levels to this game, I guess. We'll see. I'll be curious to know what you guys think. Are you happy to see Adrien Broner back? Do you think he'll win this fight? I'll be curious to know what you guys think in the comments below. But yeah, another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag, and I'm out. Peace.